Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela here, and I need your help identifying these two individuals who are wanted by the Scandalous Media Bureau of Investigation because they are hypocrites at large. Any information would be useful and helpful at this time, thank you. Egotistical celebrities who want nothing more than to funnel everyone else's money into their pockets are all around us. I can even argue that they are 90% of Hollywood, but when you bring children into it to act holier than thou, when you have a history of bullying children, being absent parents, and being horrible people in general, well then you're gonna find yourself in quite the pickle, huh? I mean, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry with their faux royal tours to Nigeria and Colombia, as well as their CBS interview about combating cyber abuse from the very two individuals who have been the definition of cyber abuse over the past 4.5 years, and that's not even counting their days as working members of the royal family. Well, that's just rich coming from two professional hypocrites. Their CBS interview pretending to care about cyber abuse while pointing the finger at parents, saying they have to be first responder about an extremely sensitive topic they know nothing about, is the cherry on top of this whole show. But before we start, be sure to follow us on social media at Scandalous Media, and be sure to like and subscribe for new videos each week covering everything Meghan and Harry to all pop culture gossip as we expose how the media and industry functions by blowing the cover on all celebrity stunts. The latest scheme Harry and Meghan have partaken in is accepting the invitation of Vice President Francia Marquez to tour Colombia because, and hold your laughter for this, the VP says that after watching their Netflix show, she was deeply moved and wanted to give them a chance to visit Colombia and allow Meghan to share her story. Come on, that's just hilarious. Is she talking about the same show where Harry and Meghan got exposed for telling about 40 lies in the 6-hour special talking about themselves and victimizing themselves, where the only thing people remember is Meghan fawning over Lily's blue eyes, mocking the Queen, "Pleasure to meet you, Your Majesty," retelling different versions of her alleged miscarriage, gloating about Beyonce texting her, which led to Beyonce never contacting her again.
Beyonce just texted. Really?
Go and call her.
No, it's okay. She said she wants me to feel safe and protected.
Lying about being forced to wear neutrals to blend in,
so I could just blend in,
even though that's her color palette as previously exposed.
The options are endless. Let's see what we pick out. Monochromatic. You can tell I like things pretty neutral.
I mean, wow, what a story that deserves to be told. In the year 2024, I'm sure we could all think of different oppressions that aren't living in a palace and working for 72 days. Seriously, who's planning this? Because I'm sure that Miss Francia Marquez seeing their Netflix show 2 years after its release wasn't the reason. Speaking of planning, I'm excited to announce today's sponsor, Nextiva. Nextiva is your all-in-one app that offers a suite of tools to personalize experiences, whether that's with your team or customers. With Nextiva, you can seamlessly create new phone numbers, and it allows unlimited calling and texting. The best part, it's all managed from your phone or computer. I talked to a bunch of different sources to get that inside celebrity scoop to share with all of you, and it's hard to keep up with all of them when the messages get lost in between my personal day-to-day things. So having a separate phone number for all Scandalous Media related needs helps me remain organized and therefore better serves my audience. I love their Rooms feature, which allows you to have a team focus on a specific project. I can have business calls, video meetings, texts, and more all in one app. As Scandalous Media grows, so does our team, so we have different people on social media, editing and publishing, and I'm more comfortable keeping my personal number private. You can grow your business and connect with your clients with Nextiva by using my link trynextiva.com/scandalousmedia to get up to 50% off your plan. It's also linked below in the description box. Nextiva's integrated social listening features are also helpful in planning and organizing social media posts because they allow you to schedule posts and monitor social media conversations and trends, which is needed in today's ever-updating trends and changing algorithms. So check out trynextiva.com/scandalousmedia to get up to 50% off your plan. And now, without further ado, let's talk about a less organized system, and that is the brand of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The next Meghan and Harry video will focus on their trip to Colombia, from all their embarrassing moments, which you know I specialized in, to exposing their little schemes. But today, I'm going to talk about the hypocrisy in their CBS interview and how dangerous it is to give such unqualified individuals a platform. Unqualified Ramblings. My favorite genre of Harry and Meghan is interviewers looking at them in complete and utter disbelief after hearing the BS they've spewed in all seriousness.
how dark his skin might be when he's born.
The British press said that. Right.
Harry and Meghan have launched the Parents Network, an organization with the tagline of "No Child Lost to Social Media," And what seems like a great idea already has holes in it and little substance to offer, as Harry and Meghan want to soft launch their online censorship under the guise of protecting kids,
in association with the couple's charitable Archwell Foundation.
Oh lord, here we go. The irony of this launch is that everyone met in person just this first time, but for the most part they will connect online.
This in-person gathering was just for the launch. The parents' network will meet mostly online.
And this pretty much goes against their whole social media is bad spiel. Now my biggest issue with this special is the fact that there was absolutely no substance, as you will see later. It was very much Harry and Meghan hopping on these heartbreaking stories to launch this organization that provides no resources on how to combat this. Instead, it seems like they're helping parents move forward, which makes me feel like this is nothing more than a support group.
We're gonna stop expecting you to be done with your grief in a year. We're gonna stop telling you that we're tired of hearing the stories of internet harm. Like, we will say your kid's name over and over again because they existed and they mattered.
It's not informative or educational in the slightest, with no mention of how mental health plays a role, how to catch these signs of mental health, or how to help your child battle phone addiction. It promotes fear and helplessness because it's led by two unqualified bullies. This launch or debut had the most eyeballs on it, and there was no mention of anything I just said. Even the website seems like it's gloating before being helpful, with the first thing you're hit with is their Sussex titles, philanthropic Archwell BS, and mentioning the launch following the success of a 2-year pilot program, it reads. But more on that later. The special opens up with Jane Pauley describing how Meghan and Harry are big huggers.
Better known as Harry and Meghan, are definitely big huggers.
Which is interesting that we're already throwing shade at William and Catherine, aka the victims of Harry and Meghan's online bullying over the past 4 years.
When Will and Kate came over, and I had met her for the first time they came over for dinner, it's like I was a hugger, I've always been a hugger. I didn't realize that that is really jarring for a lot of Brits.
You're so brave.
It opens up with Jane saying that parents who think they can't lose their children to social media certainly could.
Because the parents who are listening who have not suffered a loss think that they couldn't. But they could.
Which is a very interesting way to launch your initiative by leading with fear. Harry jumps in before Meghan does, which leads Meghan to give him this "how dare you stare" you see here.
They certainly could. And that's, I think, one of the scariest things that
Which is only one out of the hilariously many awkward stares throughout the interview, with Jane trying her best to be empathetic with the two famous bullies. But then it gets awkward when they try to use their kids. The absent parents. What we see in public is that Harry and Meghan keep missing milestone events with their alleged kids time and time again. They're always seen jetting off multiple times a month without their kids, and when they speak about their kids, they speak in such a bizarre surface-level way that makes the viewer ask, have you ever spent time around children? In the interview, Harry starts rambling about how back in the olden days, you would know what your child was up to, but now with social media, they could take their life within 24 hours and you don't know what's going on.
in the olden days, if your kids were under your roof, you knew what they were up to. At least they were safe, right? And now they can be in the next door room on a tablet or on a phone, and before you know it, within 24 hours, they could be taking their life.
What?
Again with the fear-mongering. There is absolutely no mention of parental responsibility and how the parents should supervise children, especially if they're young and are on platforms they shouldn't be on. As we all know, you need to be a certain age to join Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and so on, but a lot of these kids have access to these platforms if given that opportunity through a parent, whether that is through a smartphone or a tablet. But then we have the awkward shift from Harry's dark and unqualified data of your kid is on social media, so be careful they don't life, to Meghan smiling and blushing right after Harry says the words, taking their
life.
Our kids are young, they're 3 and 5.
I don't know if that's bad editing or what, but that was robotic of Meghan and a little awkward. Also, notice how Meghan can't say anything else besides their ages. She even pauses for a brief moment and the most she can come up with is, they're amazing.
They're amazing.
Wow, Meg, you shouldn't have. She then goes on a tangent about protecting the kids because of what's happening in the online space.
But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space.
And what is happening in the online space, Meghan? All I see is, you mocking the Queen, complaining about wearing neutrals, your husband making fun of his brother balding and smirking at hearing the horrible stuff he wrote about him, and so on. So is that the online space she's talking about? How about the workspace that she was part of that warranted an HR report against her where she bullied 2 personal assistants out of the job? I mean, this was reported in an email in 2018, 2 years before she and Harry left the royal family. You know, since she likes to claim that the bullying allegations were a smear campaign to combat the Oprah interview. But is it a smear campaign if it's true? Didn't her husband contribute to this online space by exposing in Spare that their staff was slumped over their desks weeping? Or when they signaled Catherine out by painting her as a villain who gripped the chair so tightly her fingers went white when talking to Meghan despite Meghan's condescending baby brain comment? Or leaking messages between Meghan and Catherine over the bridesmaid dresses that left a 3-year-old Princess Charlotte in tears? So again, which online space are we talking about? Because it doesn't seem like anyone cares for the kids of William and Catherine, who will grow up and see Auntie Meg and Uncle H trashing mommy and daddy online, huh? Growing irritation with each other. When Meghan and Harry first debuted their relationship, everyone could see the love that Harry had for her. He was described as smitten, and Meghan, well, she seemed to love him too, I guess if I can give her that credit. What were loving glances easily shifted into manipulative staring into your soul to subconsciously control you glances, but I'll leave psychology to Alana, who has a psychology degree and is the mastermind behind the Psychology of videos on our channel. When the CBS interview teaser first dropped, the first thing people noticed was how embarrassed Meghan looked when Harry started speaking and talking nonsense, where she widened her eyes and looked taken aback. At that same time, she looked like she couldn't stand to hear him talk. Meghan is off rambling about the kids that no one sees, whom she exploited on Netflix by releasing private footage of them playing or bathing, while simultaneously crushing her argument of not having Archie photographed after he was born, in which her mask slips again as Jane Pauley dares to cut her off even though she stopped talking for a moment.
Part of
Well, you
change
hope
for good.
that when your children ask for help,
And this is where Harry cuts off Jane to say the densest thing possible.
If you know how to help.
Thank you.
At this point, we've got to the stage where almost...
And in that moment, Meghan's body language screams, "What the hell is he saying?" Where she's taken so aback that she literally gives him a side eye and holds in her disgust, or laugh at this point, and she tries to regain control of the narrative by saying,
Thank you.
But Harry already started churning out the nonsense. She even moves her hand from his thigh, tenses her jaw, takes a deep breath, and pushes her hair out of the way to try to regain control of her emotions. She even blinks a few times while looking at him in such a, you shouldn't have spoken way. Dangerous hypocrites. Harry continues and says that parents have to be first responders, and then starts talking about how the best first responders in the world can't even do their jobs correctly by pointing out signs of, I don't know, what is it that he's mentioning at this point? Depression, phone addictions, social media bullying?
Almost every parent needs to be a first responder. And even the best first responders in the world wouldn't be able to tell the signs of possible suicide. Like that is the terrifying piece of this.
And who's the source for this data, Harry? Are you trying to tell me that doctors don't know the signs of depression, anxiety, and all mental health disorders that may unfortunately lead to someone taking their own life? Like, where is this coming from? That's what pisses me off so much. We have a real problem on our hands being narrated by the most unqualified people on earth. People who spew absolute nonsense just for their own gain. These are two confirmed bullies thinking they're qualified enough to give parents advice. And I say confirmed because we have tons and tons of public evidence to back this up. These are the same people who planted stories in the media to attack the Queen in her last months, the same people who leaked their address to the media to confirm the story they planted as proven by police reports, the same people who complained about their security yet had People magazine announce that they're planning a tour of Colombia on the same day the interview teaser dropped while everyone was talking about them to maximize headlines. For two people who claim they fear for their security, they have no problem leaking travel plans. Maybe Meghan should practice what she preaches instead of whining about the tabloids that she so very clearly spends every waking minute reading.
Well, firstly, I would urge you not to read tabloids because I don't think that's healthy for anyone. Hopefully one day they come with a warning label like cigarettes do, like this is toxic for your mental health.
Forgive me if I misunderstood, but Harry and Meghan's whole spiel is about wanting to help the world with their savior complex, and Meghan is talking about being this help for their kids, but Harry cuts in to say, if you know how to help.
But all you want to do as parents is protect them. And so as we can see what's happening in the online space,
Well, you
change
hope
for good.
that when your children ask for help, someone,
If you know how to help. If you know how to help.
Let's just laugh at him now.
And how is it that you're gonna help Harry? Because all I've been hearing for 4 years is complaining, and more complaining. Their whole premise is that internet companies need to change, but they offer little substance in possible ideas for change, nor do they acknowledge the responsibility of the parents either. You can't expect the terms and conditions of social media platforms to raise your kids and be there for them. And why is there no talk about the plans of this organization? What do you plan on doing? The tagline is no more blaming the parents, with Meghan saying,
"What if it was my daughter? What if it was my son? And one day, right under my roof, our entire lives change because of something that was completely out of our control."
And while that is both true and untrue, this isn't a solution. So what is your organization doing about it? Because it sounds like you're saying you're unable to prevent any further tragedy if everything is out of your control, and the interview ends saying exactly that.
Because of something that was completely out of our control. And if you look at it through the lens as a parent, there is no way to see that any other way than to try to find a solution. Find a solution, find a solution.
So what is the solution? They are watering down this complex thing because they are unqualified to lead it. And it's dangerous to have them as the face of something that someone may potentially rely on. Because what do they want people to do? Eliminate access to the internet? Not give parents any sort of responsibility? Is this just a support group or an organization that's going to make a difference? Why is no one asking these important questions?
And that we know that it wasn't your fault.
Because like everything Harry and Meghan do, there is no substance here to help anyone. It's a platform to elevate Meghan and give her a chance to regurgitate the same word salad. There is no solution that Harry and Meghan bring, and we are all suffering from their victimization and narcissism because the royal family didn't allow them to be half in and half out 4 years ago. That's what it boils down to. The social justice warriors they have become is just a ploy they use as revenge. They have no other job considering their plans of mooching off the royal family's budget with the hope of still being invited to lavish state dinners while doing their own thing was squashed and followed up by Hollywood slamming the door in their face because they couldn't muster up an ounce of talent.
I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The fucking grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing. And that's just by Netflix.
That's why we have two pretenders here acting like they care about the well-being of children on the internet while simultaneously using that same internet to harass and bully their families because they didn't bow down to their absurd demands.
She's portrayed herself as a victim of the royal family. She wanted to portray herself as a victim from the start. She was always craving rejection. And the suggestion is she was craving rejection so that she could say to Harry, listen, our life is unbearable here. And there's only one answer, and that's to leave the country and go and live in the United States.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered.
She wanted to portray herself as a victim from the start. She was always craving rejection so that she could say to Harry, listen, our life is unbearable here.
The connection that you have with people is they know you had suffered too, personally, contemplating killing yourself.
There were a lot of stories over the years suggesting that Meghan was difficult to work with. There were reports of staff leaving, there were reports of staff in tears, that he wrote an official email saying that she'd been bullying people.
Because if you're reading something terrible about a woman, why are you sharing it with your friends?
The point is that these people who felt they were bullied, who left their jobs, are still in an emotionally fragile and fraught state today. I mean, literally today. It speaks of bullying and the psychological effects of that bullying.
Have a tremendously negative effect on someone's mental health.
I was shocked by what I heard. I mean, I knew that she was difficult. I didn't know how difficult. I didn't know how bad it was, but I was absolutely shocked by what I heard.
I would never want someone else to feel that way.
People were in tears on a regular basis, as far as I can hear.
And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed.
People said things like, I feel sick, things like, I'm shaking, it's ridiculous.
The rose-colored glasses are fading. There are 2 points I want to make here. First, Meghan often looks dumbfounded at what Harry says because most times Harry speaks, he is spewing the most, I don't want to say stupid, but truly I can't find another word. When Harry speaks, you know that you have someone unqualified speaking.
Just because you suffered, that doesn't mean that your kids have to suffer. When someone who's marrying in, who should be a supporting act, is then stealing the limelight or is doing the job better than the person who was born to do this, that upsets people. It shifts the balance.
And I feel like she makes him insecure nowadays by staring him down as he stutters on some word salad, which is what we saw in New York at the mental health event. All he does is stutter, trip over his own tongue, and say the most foolish thing ever, while pausing for applause because he thinks he said something life-changing.
Oh, the British press said that. Right.
Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist? That would be the accusation from the people that don't understand or haven't or don't want to believe.
Shut up.
Briefing the press solidly for well over a decade.
He's got to be an idiot.
We saw this in Nigeria with the whole, what are you gonna do if you don't see your friend smiling?
If you see your friend in your class not smiling, what are you gonna do?
Oh my God.
Put your hand up if you are unsure of what mental health means. Okay, so you all know what mental health means. Every single person has mental health.
My bad. I'm sorry.
And again, when he asked a Nigerian man if he named his prosthetic leg.
Have you given it a name? Oh, yeah.
Or in the Tabloids on Trial documentary where Harry says he's the best person to see this through, and this in question is a 20-year-old case that has been solved, closed, and handled by Prince William, as we already discussed in my last video.
I don't think there's anybody else in the world that is better suited and placed to be able to see this through than myself.
Wow. You really are stupid, huh?
Second, as we learned in the Psychology of Prince Harry video, Meghan validated Harry by being in his ear about how smart and capable he is, considering his lifelong insecurities of being the spare and having William do everything better than him.
Willie was the heir, whereas I was the spare.
Meghan even tells him that in Nigeria.
Do you see why I'm married to him? He's so smart.
But because everything is a facade nowadays, and I'm sure that's the case for Harry and Meghan's relationship, we can see that irritation and annoyance in public. Harry is no longer smitten by Meghan, whose hand is on his knee in a rather inappropriate and forced way the entirety of the interview, where Harry's body language shows him tilted away from her the whole time and being completely checked out. And I say inappropriate because you're in an interview talking about cyber abuse and thoughts of taking your own life, yet your hand is on your husband's thigh in such a forced way. Read the room. This isn't the space for PDA. The touch doesn't even look like it came naturally. It's very much like, bam, here we are, we love each other, can't you tell?
You touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other. You touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other.
But let's talk about the smile of hers and Meghan still being given a platform to vomit up the same old stories we've been hearing for years. Meghan and her savior complex. In my last video on Harry and Meghan, I talked about their obsession with living in a potential scenario where they are hurt and the whole world is giving them their flowers. You know, Harry saying he won't bring Meghan to the UK because she might be stabbed or thrown acid on because of people who read the stuff.
Who reads this stuff?
AKA the truth in the media.
Saying that she had been bullying people.
Like I said, he ain't the brightest in the shed, especially when you look at the crime rates of the places they've been visiting or even living in. But just like the yellow car phenomenon, if you make it your mission to declare yourself as a victim, then that's all you're going to see. In the case of Meghan, she says that she hasn't scraped the surface of her experience of being bullied while opening up about past thoughts of ending her life. And when speaking about the topic of online bullying and how it affects young kids, Meghan brings up her own experience, gladly smiling and saying,
and I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans, and I would never want someone else to not be believed. So
Now, this isn't the first time Meghan has brought up being bullied online and having negative thoughts in response. In the 2021 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Meghan said she didn't want to be alive anymore while she was pregnant with Archie due to the pressure of life as a royal by the British media.
But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Now, many people don't even believe Meghan's story, and the Sidley twins brought up a great point where Adoa Abaw shared her story and how she overcame her struggles at the Queen's Commonwealth Trust event, which Meghan was the VP of at the time, and the entire time Meghan was looking her up and down, and it looked like her story didn't even register with Meghan, who was supposedly going through the same thing at that same time.
Listen, it's side-eye, and I don't like how she keeps looking her up and down. It just doesn't look like
this even registered.
Even her behavior the night she was allegedly crying in the dark didn't match up with what she's saying, but I won't comment on that since I don't really know. I'll leave you to form your own opinions. But here's where her savior complex kicks in. When confronted with what she revealed on Oprah, she says that she'll take the hit if it means helping other people.
So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone,
or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay,
then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that. I'll take a hit for that.
Ah, this is very much on brand with Meghan's martyr persona. Everything she does to help others is met with some sort of self-victimization. Life in the public eye is hard, and I'm sure having the media run stories about your life isn't for the faint of heart, but at the same time, it's confirmed that Meghan was exposing stories to the media, including Omid Scobie, aka the Finding Freedom author. So you can't dish it but not take it. I'm sure she struggled with the truth about her being exposed 24/7, and her control issues probably didn't help when it came to not being able to combat the truth with fairy tale lies. Meghan speaks with such hubris and self-importance, meanwhile she has no official role in any capacity and in any country. She has no credentials other than being a self-appointed icon and expert on everything. And in my opinion, she is a toxic, grandiose narcissist who is in love with the sound of her own voice. The manipulative inauthenticity glows on her, and that's why no one can get behind anything she says. She repeats the same tired old speech every time, and she can't stop clinging to a microphone to repeat said story. During her days as a working royal, she was supposed to unveil this plaque, but instead, she wanted to talk first and boss everyone around her because that's how much she loves the sound of her own voice. Here she's like, no, I'm gonna talk first, despite being asked to unveil the plaque first and being asked if she wanted to unveil, then talk.
And now may I invite Her Royal Highness to unveil the plaque. You want to do that first? Or?
No, I'll just take a difference with you, if that's all right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. We're both incredibly honored to be here. And I think you all know how important for me it is women supporting each other. But as my husband made mention of...
And you can see her eyeing the microphone from the start with that aggressive smile of hers, waiting to command the room and tire everyone around her. The same happened in Nigeria when she demanded the microphone to make another pointless word salad speech. And don't get me started on her grabbing the mic at the Kevin Costner fundraiser. She loves attention, the media, and Mrs. needing to get clawed off the Variety red carpet can't hide that fact. Harry and Meghan's entire arc is, the media lied about us, bullied us, and the royal family briefed the media. This is because all the stories coming out in the media at the time pointed to Meghan having been a Hollywood scammer, manipulating Harry with reporters that she spoke to, such as Lizzie Cundy, who Meghan befriended, then ghosted, saying that Meghan told her, "Do you know any famous guys? I'm single and I really love English men." Or when Meghan's childhood best friend in this iconic 1996 photo in front of Buckingham Palace revealed Meghan's obsession with Diana, saying she wants to be Princess Diana 2.0, she will play her role ably, but my advice to Harry is to tread cautiously. Now notice how these stories aren't hearsay, it's very much here's my full name and here's who I am to Meghan, and considering their hobby of suing the press, not once has Meghan dared to challenge these claims. The funny thing about dropping people who helped you get to the top is that you're gonna meet them on your way down. Why do you think no celebrities wanted to associate with her at the Hamptons? Of course, we can't forget about what Harry and Meghan did in Harlem in a 2021 visit to Public School 123 Malaya Jackson in one of New York's low-income areas. They had their aides ask the public school to sign a gag order, which reportedly prohibited anyone at the school from making negative comments about them now or in the future. They used teachers and pupils as young as 5 for their Netflix show, while emails exposed how their representatives raised the idea of bringing cushions and a new carpet to the school to better fit with Meghan's aesthetic. The press list for their events was also tightly controlled and restricted to Meghan-friendly publications, such as Vogue and other outlets, while British tabloids were banned because, you know, they're gonna report the truth. They wanted permission to record the kids, and when New York school officials asked what the footage was for, their PR staff was vague. Danielle Filson, the New York City school's press secretary, warned the Archewell team that the children can't be featured in any material that is promotional, and Chanel Pasing, head of unscripted content at Archewell, gave another vague answer that the content could be used in a future documentary, but was not intended to be promotional in nature. Meghan and Harry also said they were going to donate a washer and dryer for the school, but they never received it. And thanks to the NDA signed, no one is allowed to expose that grifting scheme. However, a mother of one of the students criticized Meghan for using the children and telling them when to hug her and whatnot, and the video was posted on YouTube, but it was deleted right after.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to come over here and trying to
record our children, tell them when to scream, when to hug you, and dropping off 2 boxes of rotten tomatoes. Authentic my ass.
So sorry if I have a hard time buying this whole Parents Network initiative. This just shows me how far they're willing to go. It's very dangerous for Meghan to be given a platform masked by wanting to help others when really she's trying to discredit the media and accuse them of what she has done to others. Bullying. But thanks, Meg, for, taking the hit.
Then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that.
Meghan's reported meltdown. According to Lady C, who is yet to be sued by Meghan, she claims that Meghan had arranged for Jane Pauley to ask that question about her ideations, and that Meghan gave Harry no warning that she was going to do that. And because of that, she had to cover her tracks, which explains why Meghan hit back saying, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to ask that."
Harry didn't want her bringing this up. She evidently said, "Oh, I had no idea you were going to ask. No, I had no idea you were going to ask the question for that."
And then she reportedly had a meltdown yelling at producers after the interview. Royal biographer Angela Levin exposed that Meghan was screaming at staff and producers and was very annoyed with the whole thing. I really hope she didn't do that in front of the parents. And I totally believe that happened because, as you guys know, I have been covering celebrity gossip for over 10 years now, and I know for a fact that celebrities get questions approved or banned beforehand. Back in 2013, I wrote about how Selena Gomez warned interviewers not to ask her about Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus at the height of her drama with both of them, as she was shading them. So obviously the interviewer was going to ask about that, and therefore she requested that they didn't. Same with Meghan. You're on a special talking about parents being affected by kids who lost their lives due to online bullying, so obviously you're going to be asked about what you have previously said about that topic on Oprah, as Jane says.
You had an experience that connects you to these families.
But of course, Mrs. Victim and her...
Oh, I wasn't expecting it.
It sounds like she had that response planned and rehearsed in the mirror, because notice how at the same time, she goes to comfort Harry by putting her hand on his hand, leading Jane to point it out.
It's so nice to see you touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other.
And Jane doesn't seem like she buys Meghan's fake act, because she's looking at her all suspicious like, "Girl, I know that you briefed me beforehand, but he clearly doesn't know." And Harry probably had a feeling that she was behind this question, because when she was talking about her ideation, he came across as very, very disconnected from everything. He didn't reach over to support her, instead she had to comfort him, something we wouldn't have seen on camera had Jane not mentioned it. Hypocrites who can't show empathy. The reason Meghan and Harry have failed this much over the years is because they can't even fake it. Meghan doesn't care about anyone else, and it shows from the way she treats people, like shoving that woman to the end of the stage in Nigeria, or from the way she stared down this parent who spoke about the pain of losing their child. This mother looks uncomfortable because, looking at her body language, she's tilted away from Meghan, which psychologically shows that she's not comfortable around Meghan because her aura isn't open, warm, or friendly. Look how kind Meghan is caressing the arm of a billionaire who's about to go on stage and give a speech, versus her body language toward a grieving mother. Look at the way Meghan stared down Jane Pauley when she called their parents' group launch a modest beginning, and watch her as she continues to secretly fume as Jane calls out the fact that they don't have an army in numbers. I mean, it's hilarious, and Meghan isn't happy to hear about her flop project. If her intention was that she truly wanted to help even just one person, she wouldn't care to gloat about numbers and success. But that's not what she's doing this for, huh?
The two of you, this is, it's a modest beginning. You know, it's not an army of parents yet.
No. And when she's asked about what her ambitions are, she says that you have to start somewhere with a dead and empty glare in her eye.
I think you have to start somewhere.
Honestly, Meg, you might have a career in horror films because the lack of empathy keeps punching me in the face and I'm getting quite a bit uncomfortable writing about this robot. And Jane is a seasoned industry veteran. She sees the fakeness and is surely calling it out with her questions, where she looks rather unimpressed but amused at the same time. This is the face Meghan made when talking about her past ideation, a big smile. And because she's such a cold person, that reads off to us, the viewer. She looked more upset hearing her initiative was small than she did when talking about her ideations. Harry and Meghan should practice what they preach instead of giving a notorious bully like Christopher Boozy a platform on Netflix after he bullied William and Catherine online, saying that they're aging in banana years, they look like Harry's aunt and uncle, William looks like a balding Muppet, and lying on Netflix with non-existent data claiming that there are people conspiring about Meghan in underground groups planning out when to attack and which photos to expose. I of course exposed all of this in my Netflix coverage. He is also the same person who went on Twitter Spaces fueling conspiracies about Catherine's disappearance, saying that she either hurt herself or William hurt her.
Today is a human being,
And just because he's royalty doesn't mean that, you know, he can't do things that would be very embarrassing. And I don't know what their relationship is, their marriage is, and I don't know if William did something to Kate or not, or if Kate did something to herself.
Meanwhile, she had cancer this whole time. You'd think he'd have some empathy considering his mother died after being infected with COVID-19 while fighting cancer, but no. Within 30 minutes of Catherine's video announcing a cancer diagnosis, he was fueling the fire surrounding the conspiracy theories in a rant to his 350,000 followers on Twitter, claiming that the photos of her were fake and the palace tried to cover it up, all while accusing the British press of happily lying to help them, aka regurgitating the same BS Harry and Meghan spoon-fed him, since that's exactly what they said on Netflix.
They were happy to lie to protect my brother. They were never willing to tell the truth to protect us.
Funny enough, Catherine appeared in public a couple of times after that, and she looked fine and able-bodied, yet Boozy never apologized. Omid Scobie, another mouthpiece, posted this on Instagram following the announcements of Catherine's surgery, insinuating that she was getting plastic surgery, even though he's the one who seems to have gone under the knife quite a number of times. After all, every projection is an admission. Omid is the same person who willingly wrote Catherine and Charles' names in Endgame, claiming they are the royal racists, a conversation Harry claimed he would never share.
What was that conversation?
That conversation I'm never going to share.
Remember when Meghan lied about her connection to him in court, pretending that she never gave him info for Finding Freedom, which led her to apologize in the High Court? Or how about Harry's ploy to make sure no one knows that he and Meghan are briefing Omid about things to write in his book exposed by him in emails? Harry and Meghan are pathological liars and self-serving bullies, and we don't need a source for that information because every time they open their mouths, they expose themselves. Meghan fell out with the original director for the Netflix soap opera, as well as the writer behind the cut interview, because she blames them for how she was perceived. And as I said earlier, she was repeatedly yelling at staff following the interview, so let's see what Jane Pauley does now. The cherry on top is following the CBS interview. An insider spoke to Closer, a UK magazine, saying that once the time is right, she's going to release a tell-all memoir about all she endured during her time in the palace. The source said, the talk among their friends is that it's time to take the gloves off and do away with the diplomacy. Yeah, because she and Harry running their reputation to the ground with their constant attacks on the royal family, while the latter stays completely silent, is very diplomatic. The source continues saying, there's so much demand for Meghan to speak out, whether that's in the form of another sit-down interview or even her own memoir. She has the potential to make an absolute fortune and clear up a lot of questions. Well, we can't say we didn't know where her intentions lay. Honestly, I feel so dizzy recapping this whole thing because it shows you how far these two will go to use and abuse anyone around them for their own self-serving benefits. Let's see how long this Parents Network thing will last, because just like American Riviera Orchard, it'll probably fizzle out. Well, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments. What other Meghan and Harry videos would you like to see? What do you guys think about the Parents Network? Stay tuned for our upcoming video exposing Meghan and Harry's Colombia trip and all the backlash they got for that. Be sure to like and subscribe for new videos each week. Check out our blog and merch store if you want to support us. Follow us on our social media, and as always, I'll see you next time.